Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a little different than the normal content that I upload. I typically post days in the life or like studio vlogs, which I'm going to continue doing, but I wanted to make this video, which is how I started my small business at the age of 20 and how you can too. But more specifically, I'm going to be giving you tips on starting a business, growing it, and maintaining it. So I wanted to start with my story and how I got started. So like a lot of business owners that I've talked to and I see online, I started during COVID. I made an Instagram for my business in January of 2021, and at the time I was only selling custom stickers, so people would submit photos of themselves with like their significant other or a pet, and then I would make it into an illustration and then a sticker. So that's how I started. I made an Instagram, like I said, and then I made a TikTok for my business. In January, the same month that I made those accounts, I was lucky enough to have a TikTok video go viral. It was a video of me making a custom sticker, and from that video going viral, I got over 200 custom sticker orders, and most people wanted their orders in time for Valentine's Day, so within like a month. So I was grinding. I was not able to get everyone's order out in time for Valentine's Day, but I was very communicative with my customers, and a lot of people still kept their order and they didn't want like a refund. I got majority of my followers on Instagram from that TikTok video going viral as well. And at the time I was taking orders through Instagram DMs, which is funny looking back on because it just goes to show like where you can start. And like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even think about making a website or an Etsy. I was just like, let's do Instagram DMs, that's easy. But once I got like 200 orders at once, I switched over to Google Sheets, so I still didn't go on to a website. I had people fill out a form, and I was very much in contact with the customer throughout the whole process of ordering, me making the design. I would send them the proofs, and then they would approve them, and then I would ship them out. So I was doing custom stickers for a while, and then I wanted to start expanding my product line a little more. So I started doing custom location stickers, where a lot of people who are in long distance relationships would order these stickers. So it's a heart-shaped sticker with one location on one side, the other location on the other, and I would illustrate it the same as like the Google Map image of it, if that makes sense. So I did that. Those got really popular. And then I just started doing like my own designs of stickers. I currently have like dog and cat stickers that I illustrate. And then in April of last year, I started experimenting and making car coasters. I can show you one. So this is an example of one of the car coasters I make, and they just fit into car cup holders. So I have a bunch of designs. It's my top selling product. So I started doing that in April, and then I started selling them online in June of 2022. And now I also make big coasters, and in 2022, I started making candles in recycled cans. So I have candles in like beer cans, seltzer cans, any aluminum can, soda. And there was also a period of time where I was making magnets, so custom magnets, but I no longer do that. And then most recently, I started tufting tote bags. So I have like a few different designs of tote bags. For example, I have this peach one, and then I have this flower one. I also have like an assorted fruit one, but you get the idea. And then I'm also gonna start selling keychains of the dog and cat designs that I've created. So I have a shipment of keychains coming in pretty soon that I'm looking forward to. But that's a quick synopsis of my story, how I started, and how I've grown my product line. But I want this video to primarily be tips on how you can start your own business. So let's get into that. And I also wanted to mention that these tips are in no particular order. But I will say the first thing you need to do is figure out the product or service that you're gonna offer and sell. The way I approach choosing the products that I wanna offer in my shop is making or creating things that I myself would buy. And by doing that, I'm passionate about what I'm creating, and I'm excited to try new things and try different designs, and I keep wanting to make what I'm offering. If you're making something that you don't even want or like, then it's not gonna last. It's not gonna be sustainable, and you're probably not gonna enjoy making it because you're like, what's the point? Like, I don't even like this product. And that might seem like a really obvious thing, but I feel like some people just wanna start a business and they don't even think much about what they're gonna sell. They're like, oh, I'll just make candles, like that does well. Or they think about exactly that, like what does well, what's gonna make them the most money, which, yeah, that's part of it, but that shouldn't be the whole reason why you start selling what you sell. The second tip is utilize social media. I think it's possible to have a business without social media, but I think it's very unwise. If you're planning on selling products online at all, I definitely think you need social media. If you're only selling in person, I guess you could argue that you don't need it, but I still think it's extremely beneficial for growing your business, even if you're just doing pop-up shops, because you can let your followers know where you're going to be next, and they might end up showing up to a market that they otherwise didn't know existed. But especially if you're selling online, you should have social media, and you should make sure the social media directs your customer to your website or wherever you sell your products, because that's like the ultimate goal, right? So if you have an Instagram, make sure your website's linked in your bio. Same thing with TikTok, Facebook, etc. From my experience, social media has grown my business to what it is now. I do pop-up shops as well, but social media gives your customers a place to follow you, to keep up with you, to keep up with your products, know what you're selling. TikTok and Instagram for my business have been my like primary social media accounts, and from what I've seen, those two along with Facebook drive the most sales and conversions for a lot of businesses. So overall, you should definitely be on social media. That's one of the first things I did. I made an Instagram and a TikTok, and I think that's one of the first things that most people should do after figuring out what their products are. My next tip is to keep your branding consistent across social media, your packaging, your pop-up displays, every aspect of your business. You want your branding to be consistent, and make sure you're very intentional about your branding before you create it. Like really think about what you want your customers to think about when they think about your brand. So for me, my brand is very pink. I have a lot of hearts. As you can see, even my office is on brand. But I incorporate that into my packaging, my logo, my social media accounts. People love to look at aesthetic content on social media, and to be honest, a consistent aesthetic social media page is going to generate more followers and sales than one that looks thrown together, unprofessional. It's just how it goes. So really focus on taking good quality photos and keeping that branding consistent. You also want to make sure that as you expand your product line, your products make sense for you and your brand, and it's not just completely out of nowhere. For example, I wouldn't start selling a tech product. It just doesn't make sense for my brand. My customers are not interested in that. They're not interested in seeing me sell that. You don't want to confuse your target market, and you want to make sure you're still targeting them. So make sure you keep your branding consistent, your products make sense. You could even sell complementary products. So for example, I could start selling glassware because that goes with coasters. You get the idea. My next tip is don't be afraid to try and fail, because failure is inevitable, and there's so much trial and error in owning and starting a business. It's insane. Like, there's no way around it, and just embrace it and realize that some amazing things will come from you trying different things, inevitably failing at some of them, but it helps you learn. There's going to be so much experimentation with every aspect of your business, and failure is a part of that, and it helps you figure out what works for you, what doesn't work. For me, it's helped me figure out what marketing I want to use, what marketing reaches my target market, the products I want to sell, the equipment I want to use. Like, for example, I went through like 3 printers before figuring out what printer worked best for me. So it's just part of the process, and like I said, just learn to embrace it. My next tip is to try different marketing strategies and tactics to see what works best for your products and what reaches your target market. So for example, trying in-person events, social media, like I said, experimenting with different websites. For example, I made a Shopify website and realized there was like no traffic being generated to my website. So I switched over to Etsy, where Etsy helps you get traffic. So that's where I've been since. And then also experimenting with different social medias. So Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I personally don't have much of a presence on Facebook like at all, because my target market isn't really on that app very often, but I'm able to reach them through TikTok and Instagram. And then my next tip I've kind of been talking about, but is to determine your target market and market to them accordingly. So asking yourself, what social media platforms is your target market on? And then make sure you have a presence on the social media platforms. Also ask yourself, what are their interests? And see if you can incorporate their interests into your marketing. So like, what music do they listen to? Use those audios. So one way that I take my target market's interests and incorporate it into my products is through my coaster designs. So I go live on TikTok a lot, and over the summer when I was going live, I was getting a lot of people into those lives, and they were suggesting so many different coaster designs. And so I was writing down the ones that were being suggested the most, and then I made them into coasters. So things like that, I mean, that's so specific, but it's gonna vary depending on what your product is and how you can incorporate their interests. Even if it's just into the marketing, that's very important. Okay, my next tip is to determine what value your products offer and make sure you highlight that in the marketing. So again, I'm going to give an example from my business. My candles, like I said, are in recycled cans. So that's obviously a unique twist on candles. Usually they're just in glass containers or different vessels. But by having mine in cans, when I'm marketing them online or I'm doing in-person events, it grabs people's attention. And they're like, oh, what is that? What is she selling? Is she selling drinks? And then they come over and are usually pleasantly surprised. So trying to add value in any way you can to your products and making sure you're marketing that is very important. It's going to set you aside from everyone else that's selling the same or similar products. And it's going to give people more of a reason to buy your product over the next person's. My next tip is to build relationships with your customers as much as you can. Make sure you have good communication skills online and in person, and that you're being honest and fair with your customers. I mean, this is just the way that you should act towards anyone ever. But from a business perspective, this will keep your customers coming back. They'll be more apt to recommend you to friends and family if they had a good experience with you and your business. So always keep that in mind. Even if you get frustrated, take a minute and make sure you're responding to customers in a friendly and professional manner. And then my last tip is to remember that it's a business at the end of the day. Don't neglect the business side of your business. That sounds so obvious, but I think for a lot of people who have a small business, especially artists, they don't have as much of a passion for the business side of it. It's okay to not be passionate about business, but you still have to put energy into the business side. So making sure you're tracking your expenses and sales from day one for tax purposes, but also for you to see the finances of your business and how much money you're spending, if you can afford certain things, where you should cut costs, things like that. And then also open a business account ASAP. You want to keep your business finances separate from your personal, and the money going in and out of your business account should only be business related transactions. So if you buy something for your business, use your business card. And when you make sales, make sure the sales are going into your business account. So those are all the tips I have for starting, growing, and maintaining a business. I really hope this video was helpful. And like I said, I usually do studio vlogs, days in the lives. If that's the kind of content you're interested in, definitely consider giving a follow. And I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.